What's up, guys? Momo here again. Today, I'll be talking about a topic that I've been asked about a lot of times already, that I thought was a bit complicated to talk about, but still I want to give it a shot and hopefully be able to help as many as possible that ask me the same question, which is, Momo, how do I use the electric properly, or how do I implement it in my game plan? I kind of talked about this already in my guide somewhat, like I picked up on that topic a bit, but didn't go into much detail. So now I want to give you more of a detailed demonstration on how to properly use the electric. Disclaimer though, I'm not someone that uses the electric a lot myself. I only use it as much as needed, pretty much. First off, let me give you an analogy on how we could think of a way of using the electric. You know how I talked about how using one depth can be pretty important with Double Jin because you have such great options from +8? Well, it's not wrong to think about an electric as a jab that is on steroids, pretty much. Because think about it, the electric is only 4 frames slower than a jab, and in the same situations where a jab would hit, most of the times electric would also hit. So like, the electric is a jab that launches on normal hit, so like the reward is 10 times bigger. And it also tracks to both sides depending on how you use it. So like, it's pretty hard for someone to sidestep or sidewalk a dash electric, for example. Let me put the bottom block all, and then make him sidewalk to the left to Devil Jin's weak side. As you can see, if I dash before I go in and do my electric, it will track him. So if you put your mind to it, you can use your electric both as a normal hit launching jab and as a tracking tool so far. There's another analogy that I liked, shout out to FDX here, who said that the electric in Fury is a Steve back one, which you would throw out for keepout, for example, in order to counter them from getting in. But it also counter launches movement, so like if it catches movement in any way, they also get launched. Which isn't a dumb analogy at all if you think about it. Steve's back 1 is 13 frames, and yet it counter hit launches a lot. You'll see it connect on counter hit a ton, and it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, counter tool in the game since they nerfed a lot of strong, fast counter hit launching moves. So the electric isn't really different. If you think about it, Devil Jin's fastest launcher is 14 frames in the electric. And it doesn't matter whether it's a normal or counter hit, you could consider it as a counter hit launcher if you want to, if you use it in that regard. So like if your timing is really, really good, if you have a great timing read on your opponent, it's not dumb to say that the electric is also your fastest counter hit launcher. Another plus side to the electric as a counter hit launcher is also that it can be used as a frame trap, which in my opinion is a bit neglected and super underrated. So like if I, let's say, had the bot, let's see, is there a move of Shaheen's that is -9? Okay, so if I'm good with my electrics, if I'm super fast and pulling off my electrics for checking, for example, in theory, this Shaheen wouldn't even have time to get into the jumping state of his hop kick. He would get normal hit launch instead of floated. Now let's see if I can manage to do this. There we go. Usually, you would only get a float from someone trying to hop kick you. But because the electric is so fast, it's 14 frames, he's -9, and the hop kick takes like 9 frames to get into jumping state. So if I pull off an electric here that is fast as 17 frames, I believe, I will get a full launch instead of just a float. A float would look like this. So again, this is a pretty strong, frame trapping tool too, if you think about it. And the same goes for power crushes, by the way. Like this. So again, it's like you see people using 1-1 as a frame trap, for example, after +8, for example, after Monicro 1 on block, like a jab and hit, or Westerning 4 and hit. Which is, of course, a pretty good check because it beats anything they do. It doesn't matter if they hop kick, if they power crush, if they rage art. But the same goes for the electric if you're good enough at using it, or like if you're fast enough at checking. And the obvious usages for an electric are also for punishment. So like block or whiff punishment. Let's say the Shaheen just did a Westerning 2. I could of course just go for the can. But you know, at some point you also want to get bigger reward because out of the can your routes are a bit limited. So the other option for punishing here is the electric as a block punishment. Should look like this. And you will have to learn this for quite a few characters if you do insist on launching with the electric for like minus 14, 15 or higher. But it's super worth it because, again, the electric still nets you more reward than a can launch because you're way more flexible with your routes and you get more damage from it in general. And this is, of course, for block punishment, already well known. But something that people tend to struggle with is whiff punishing with electrics. Using the electric to whiff punish instead of the can-cans can be super important because can-cans don't have as much range as the electric. As you can see here, from like range 2.1, it doesn't connect already. And once the second hit lands on block against them, you are pretty much dead because this move is almost universally with launch punishable. So like, using the electric to whiff punish from range 2, as I said, is super important. And you do have the alternative of using back to 3. This move is now minus 14 on block instead of minus 15, as it was in Tekken 7, so you don't get launch for messing up using this as a whiff punish anymore, plus you get a full heat engager. And while you're in heat, it's also a launcher, which is pretty neat, but you still want to learn how to use the electrics for whiff punishment. And there's a super cool layer 1 practice for this without having to go into a match, and it's setting the CPU to whatever difficulty, whatever you feel like, and then trying to confirm as many whiffs as possible. You move around as you would in a match, and then it doesn't even matter if you get hit, as long as you can confirm a whiff here and there, and then try to whiff punish, you're good to go. Like here, I messed up my electric, for example. Here, I didn't mess up my electric, but I was too slow. And then, you know, you just keep going and try to get as many electric whiff punishes as possible without messing up the input. It's fine to start slow at first, and again, it doesn't matter if you get hit here and there. It's not about not getting hit at all, it's about trying to confirm as many whiffs as possible while moving around. It's like, this isn't a bad practice without going into a match, as I said. And I would recommend you do this for like at least 10 minutes every day if you're trying to or like not every day, but before every session, if you want to improve your whiff punishment with electric. Again, this is not about avoiding every move perfectly, it's about trying to create a whiff and immediately recognizing that the bot whiffed and trying to launch with the electric. What's also important for whiff punishment though is also the mental aspect. This may have gotten a bit out of the electric topic, but still, when you're talking about whiff punishment, you can't neglect the fact that you have to be ready for a whiff punish. So like, some people move around without any purpose, and I think in this game this isn't the best thing to do. So like backdashing mindlessly to the other side of the screen, or like sidewalking without much intent. It's super important that you always have a purpose in your mind while you try to whiff punish. So like, let's say I do a down forward 1 and I backdash. Or like the opponent does a down forward 1 and then another move. Let's say the Shaheen does, I don't know, down forward 1 into down forward 2. I should be able to backdash this. And as you can see, it whiffs because I backdashed. But here's the thing. People tend to immediately go into their flow of KBDing hectically. But if you just single backdash here, and tell yourself, okay, he might whiff now, I should be ready. It becomes much easier to whiff punish in time because you will lock on way faster onto a whiff. It sounds stupid, but believe me, it works. It's a very big mental aspect of whiff punishing. If you're ready for a whiff punish, it becomes so much easier to actually whiff punish than like just moving around without a purpose and realizing they whiffed way too late. And then you try to go in electric, and by the time you're in and trying to whiff punish, you get counter launched. Happened to all of us. Every single one of us, I can guarantee you. So like, again, when you're moving around, even with Doubledon, even a single backdash can make a huge difference. Okay, I will single backdash now. He might whiff because I backdashed. Keep this in mind, it might be important. And then let's say, well, Shaheen's down forward 2, I have to step to the right. So like, he did a down forward 1, and I'm predicting that he will down forward 2. And because I predicted it, I can immediately shoot out a can, even though the move doesn't have that much with recovery, and I can immediately whiff punish. Same goes for the electric, of course. This is more about a Fury part. But yeah. Mental aspect is as important as the practical part. So like always be ready for a whiff while you're moving around. Don't move around mindlessly too much or like without a purpose. Movement in this game can go a long way if you actually tie it with the intent of trying to get reward from it or like trying to counter your opponent's moves or baiting whiffs, you know, all that. And other than that, the electric, well, it's not dumb to just throw it out anywhere, anyhow, mindlessly, doesn't matter. Like if they try to get in, as I said before, it also counter hits movement. And should they try to dash into you and you electric from this range and they're currently dashing in, they will very obviously get launched by it. You can also do electrics out of multiple crouch dashes, or like out of a wave dash, in order to hide your timing a bit. Someone asked me just a day or two ago, Momo, someone kept ducking my electrics. What do I do as a counter? Well, there are two simple solutions. One, you could start using Demon Paws in place of the electric because it has similar speed in places where they duck. Or, as I showed just now, you can mix up your timings of the electric by wave dashing prior, for example. It will become much harder for them to play around your electric if you actually tie it with movement, especially with chained crouch dashes, and especially if you mix them up with a lot of mids. But let me tell you, if you make an opponent duck just by using electrics and without having to use any lows, that's a bigger win than you think. Because if they start ducking for your highs instead of for your lows, you take less risks than by using a low, for example, and then being launch punishable, like getting staggered. Ducking and launching highs is much harder than ducking and launching a hell sweep, for example, or ducking and punishing down make 2, down 4, whatever, you name it. So like, if they start countering your electrics, best thing you can do is just start countering their counter. The mind game just goes on from there. But that almost sums up my my how to use electrics guide. I know it may not be as well. May not be up to your expectations. Maybe you expected some very high detail guide on how to make your electric hit every single time, but sadly, there is not much to it except practice your electrics to the point where you can confidently throw them out as a whiff punish. And it's fine if you mess up once or twice or even more trying to whiff punish with an electric. We've all been there. Even I still mess up the electric whiff punishes from time to time. But it's super important that you keep going regardless, because without trying to do it in matches, you won't learn. That's the main point. You have to go for electrics in matches in order to learn them. And you have to get launched for them in order to realize what you're doing wrong while trying to use them. Either way, that is my guide for how to use electrics. I hope you find some success in using these methods. And I hope you will hit many more electrics in your coming matches. Momo out.